Yes, I look back and my addiction took me to places and made me do things that I would never do. I'll never forget my baby sister. Once they started shunning me off, it was like I called her and I was like, man, you don't answer, you don't text me, and that's not fair. I'll never forget that.
This episode of the Recovery Couch is brought to you by Greg Swartz at Remax Victory and Affiliates. Greg brings heart, hustle, and honesty to every deal. Call Greg at 937-477-8975 today and tell him the Recovery Couch sent you. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Recovery Couch. I'm your host, Brandon Couch, and today I'm with another one of my friends from Shreveport, Louisiana. Denny is a man who has been through a lot. He's faced a lot of difficult seasons in his life, and he's here today to share his experience, his strength, and his hope. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome to the show, Denny. Denny, how you doing today?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm blessed, man.
So,
So, Denny Matthews, let's give us a background, man, about just kind of how you grew up and then what led to your addiction.
I grew up, my mom left when I was young. My dad kind of took over and he gave me a normal life, man. Like I was into baseball, football. My dad was always in the yard playing with me and pitching the ball, and my mom was always kind of absent due to her own addiction. That later on took her life. But I was real active in sports and um, I had a great father, man. And I, around age 15, I started drinking with my buddies on the tailgate out in the woods, bonfires, little parties. I, that turned into smoking weed and drinking, and, which eventually led to around 17 or 18 pain pills. And, I was doing the lower tabs, the Percocets. I was in and out of the methadone clinic. I eventually graduated to heroin, and I'll never forget. Like the first time I've done it, I was in Boston, Massachusetts, and I was with a female, and I was doing the Oxy 80s at the time, and they were real big back then. And I asked her, I said, let me try a little bit of that. And she said, baby, you don't want to do this. And I conversed her into it. She gave me a little line of it. And all I remember was I looked down and I saw how small it was. And I said, that's disrespectful. I shoot Oxy 80s into my arm. That's not going to do anything to me. She told me to try it, man. I leaned over, a quick sniff, and I instantly lost my voice because I was in such a relaxed, comatose. And I looked up at her and I said, I want to feel like this the rest of my life. And it felt like God was holding me in his arms, just petting me. It was the most amazing feeling I ever felt in my life. And from there on, I didn't stop. I had a good job in the oil field. I made around $20,000 to $30,000 a month. So I had the means to purchase it. I had a good dope dealer. He and I, we built a relationship where it was, we did a lot of deals just on trust. Like, we did so much buying and selling and trading together that I needed him as much as he needed me. And, so that didn't help because I had the money to get it. And eventually I was overdosing. I was in and out of the hospitals. I could not kick the heroin. And I thought maybe changing locations, people, places, and things. And I was really heartbroken whenever I moved cities and found out there was still heroin there. So that didn't help any. And my dad, he would beg me to go to treatment. He's taking me to treatment, drop me off. I normally would beat him back to the house. I'd be sitting on his couch when he got there. He um, he was such an innocent bystander through my addiction. I would go visit my mom, and it was just snorting cocaine and drinking beer and partying. Uh, my dad, he begged me, and throughout my addiction, I physically, uh, I messed with his health. I gave him a lot of health issues, and I couldn't stop. I didn't realize till I started working the program how much stuff I had in common with the guys from back in the day. Like my dad took me one time for I'd thrown up for 5 or 6 days. I was dehydrated. He took me to the emergency room, and the doctor, my dad was saying, "Do something, help him." And they said, "There's nothing we can do. There's no magic pill to make him quit doing heroin. There's nothing we can do for him." Kind of like in the book. And I definitely placed myself beyond human help. I believed in God, but he was also a question mark. I was always like, if there's a God, why would he put me through this? Um, it wasn't later, till I went and got sober. I realized that God put me through that. I have old saying, I heard it a long time ago. God let me out of hell so I can go back and save people. And
I mean,
that,
let me ask you something real quick, Denny.
yes,
So
sir.
you say you believe in God, but he's a question mark. But why would God put me through this? You've described to us that you were going into treatment and it was because you were using heroin. But what was it that was so difficult? Because you would describe heroin as the a hug from God, the best feeling you ever had. What was the struggle that you were dealing with where you were kind of like, hey, God, man, why would you put me through this? Were you going through withdrawal at this time? Was it the disappointment of you felt like you were letting your dad down? What was it specifically that made you feel like, God, if you're there, why are you putting me through this?
I feel like because several times I was seeing what I was doing to my dad, my sister, my close friends, not the friends in the dope game, the friends that I grew up with who really cared about me. I saw what I was doing to all of them, and I would legitimately say, like, God, please help me. I knew nothing about a program or working any steps or any of that. I thought like I could just go to him and say, "Will you take this away from me?" And he wouldn't. And you know, yeah, I withdrew so many times. I tried so many times to quit. I was the one that I knew where I was at in my addiction, and I saw what I was doing, and I just could not do anything to control it or stop it. I'd lost sorts and control, and I didn't hate God, but I definitely questioned Him. Like, why did I get on my knees and pray so hard and cry? And why am I seeing my dad sitting up at night waiting on me to come home? Uh, the man worked his entire life, the same job he retired from, also doing all that. He would still wait up on me or ride the city looking for me. When I was in a hotel room and couldn't breathe, he would show up and get me to a hospital or whatever. And I just didn't understand, like, God, why will you not remove this from me? And, because at that point I was shooting heroin and cocaine. And, I wanted some relief and I wasn't getting.
So let me ask this. So you were at a point where you knew that this was turning you into somebody that was hurting your father. if I had to guess, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Correct me if I'm wrong, Denny, but you were becoming unrecognizable to even yourself. You were doing whatever it took in order to get the fix, to be well and not be sick. And that is the point that where you started to think like, man, God, why do you have me in this situation? Why would you put anybody through this? Is that what I'm gathering?
Very true. Yes, very true.
So you are becoming a little bit unrecognizable to yourself, and in the sense of like, do you think you can see at this point in time, like, I never wanted to become what I know I've become?
Yes, I look back and my addiction took me to places and made me do things that I would never do. Like, especially the pain that I caused my father. I'll never forget my baby sister. Once they started shunning me off, it was like, I called her and I was like, man, you don't answer, you don't text me. And my sister told me, you're killing my dad, and that's not fair. And those words, like, I'll never forget that. Like, but I just didn't see it at the time. I said things to him. I had a lot of good people in my life, and when they would try to talk to me, the addiction would just block that. And it just made me someone that I'm not. I know now that I'm not. Like, I'm nowhere near that guy. I don't speak the same. I don't carry myself the same. And I never want to be that guy again. I was a demon for sure.
Yeah, God bless you for you know your understanding today, and knowing that that was that was demonic activity kind of inside of your vessel. And yeah, that is the truth, with the chemicals. And
Yeah, I mean, I remember very well my dad. I told him I wanted to kick heroin. I went to his house. I locked myself in the back bedroom. I had a throw up bucket. And I would projectile vomit across the bedroom all the way to the point where I was throwing up air because there was nothing left in me, and it sounded very demonic. Like, it was definitely demonic.
well, and I think, Denny, that's a part of addiction that people who have never been through it have a hard time understanding. Is, I know I don't want to be doing this drug anymore. I was on opiates myself. I didn't want to do opiates anymore. I want the days I would wake up and I didn't have it and I needed it and nothing was going to stop me. I mean, I knew that I didn't want to live like that. But what the people who loved me and the people I was putting through torture, what they didn't understand was withdrawal is terrible.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
So
was
your sister, your dad, like, I don't know how, my family, I don't know how much they knew, how much I knew that withdrawal was going to be 2 weeks to a month worth of hell, right? And never could work up the courage to tell them that, to be like, hey, I know I have a problem, but I'm so afraid of what I'm about to put myself and you guys through if I try to cold turkey this thing.
right,
um, and that sounds like what you were kind of dealing with in the back of your dad's house. You knew you were going to be vomiting,
right.
plus other things.
Oh yeah.
How did your dad deal with that?
He was right there, man. He would open the door and he would check on me. He would try to get me to walk to the mailbox with him. He would just say, "Let's go check the mail. Just walk with me." And I would just look at him and say, "Dad, I'm sorry. I can't do that right now." It was during the middle of summer. I was wrapped up in a blanket, sweating at the same time, and I just could not get up and make it to the door. Um, and every day he would come in and just try to like encourage me. He would say, "It's getting better, son. You got one more day. Just get one more day." And I remember looking at him one day and almost in a demonic way, I said, Well, it can't get no freaking worse, man. Like, I'm throwing up and using a bathroom with myself. Like, it can't get any worse than this. And yeah, it was tough. And through my addiction, especially with my opiates, I started doing meth probably the last 4 years of my addiction. And with the opiates, I refused to put myself in a situation to where I didn't have anything. That was my biggest fear in life. If I got called to go to West Texas for 30 days, you better believe I had 30 days worth of dope to take with me. And if not, I would call him and he would drive to West Texas to make sure I did not get sick. That was the main goal in life, to not get sick, even though I was extremely sick. I just didn't know it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get what you're saying there. What was a 30-day supply for you?
Um, well, I had like this little ritual. Uh, I was a consultant on a rig, so I had my own crew trailer, and I would just get like an ounce of dope and an ounce of coke, and I'd pour it all onto a plate, and I would just mix it all up. And throughout the day, I would walk by and do a line. I'd come back by, do a little line. Um, I was I was overseeing all drilling operations at the time, but I ran out of dope one night, and for 2 or 3 days, I laid in the bathroom in my crew trailer, vomiting and could not move. The rig hands had to come down to check on me, and I'd been laying there for 3 days. And here I am, a respected consultant supervising $1 million operation, and I'm laying in the bathroom on the floor in my underwear in my own, vomit. And of course, I told them like I've just been really sick, whatever. So they get me in an ambulance at the location, take me to a hospital there in somewhere in New Mexico, um, and one of the superintendents of the company came up to the hospital and he said, "What's going on with you?" And I said, "I'm addicted to heroin." And he said, "Okay, well, they offered to send me to get help. I I couldn't physically drive. I walked out of the hospital, got a Greyhound bus, left my truck in New Mexico somewhere, and rode a bus back to Baton Rouge, and got me some more heroin, and I was good to go. I went back and got my truck, and of course, I was asked to not come back out on the location. So I went from, like I said, 20, 30,000 a month to once I lost that, the relationship with my daughter. I always thought I was father of the year just because I would snap a couple pictures with her and make it look really good for Facebook and stuff. And the truth is, I was so my relationship with heroin meant more than my relationship with her, my father, or my real friends. And she started seeing that. She backed way off like everyone else. And you know, um, I finally went into the Subutex doing the Suboxone and all that. I did that for about 2 years, and which got me away from the heroin. But also, I have a good friend. He always says like I'm always addicted to more, and the the Suboxone, Subutex, none of that was working, and got out on a drilling rig. I got a job back out on a rig, and he offered me some meth, and um, I did that for the next 5 years. Like you said earlier, how I didn't realize what I was doing to my family. My mother, once I went to treatment, I had about 4 months of sobriety, and my mother became real ill. And I came to the hospital to see her, and I spent like the last couple weeks there with her. And I started making amends with her because a counselor told me, write down everything you would say to your mother. And I said, she's on life support. She's on and off life support. She's in comas. She don't know what I'm saying. She said, just write it down. Made no sense to me at the time. I started writing to her and I said, Mom, I can't stand you for leaving me and abandoning me like you did. I hate you for your addiction. I hate you for all your lies. You're never showing up. You're manipulating. You're everything that you've done to me. Like I've carried this for over 20 something years and I can't stand you. But as I continued writing, it got down to where I would say, I really can't hate you for not showing up as a mom because I didn't show up as a son. And also, everything you did to me, I've been doing it to my children also. And I'm no better than you. And once I wrote that, I sat with her the last few days. She had tubes in her. If she moved, she was in so much pain, she would scream. When the nurses would come in, I would get up and walk over to the door and cover my ears because my mom would scream this sound no one should never have to hear. And one night, I'm sitting beside her bed and I'm looking at her and she's just moaning because she's in so much pain. And I thought to myself, this must be what it felt like for my dad and my sisters, my friends and family. This is what it felt like watching someone die. So really, in retrospect, like I feel like my mom showed up there at the end and gave me the greatest gift in the world. She showed me what it was like to watch someone suffer and hurt and watch me slowly die. And that
Yeah, it's interesting that you call it the greatest gift in the world. I think it does bring a good perspective of, you, golly, man, this is similar to what people had to have seen when I went through what I went through. But at the
right,
same time, it's also difficult to understand, like, the absence of mom did play a part. I can't peg all this on mom, but did play a part. And you know, when you're having the realization of like, if daggone it, man, I did the same thing. I can't really blame me. I did the same thing to my kids. That's, you know, the vicious cycle of, you know, what is, daggone, generational curses is what most people call them. Right. And having that understanding and being like, okay, now that I understand that there are generational curses and iniquities, I think is what, the Bible calls them, but generational curses are real, and and I'm a product, of that, right? And then so when it comes time to forgive myself, or when it comes time for others to forgive me, let's take that into consideration, and same thing with mom, man. Let's forgive her too. That was probably
yeah,
the same shit she had to deal with
right.
as a kid.
Right. I heard a thing one time, and it says they say time heals all wounds, but for me, forgiveness will heal those wounds. Time just changes your heart because, like I said, 10 years ago in my addiction, there was no forgiving her. Um, Time changed me, and working a program, I had a spiritual shift inside of me, and I was able to forgive her and forgive myself, and also ask her to forgive me. So to me, that's what healed that wound is the, the forgiveness. And I instantly carried no more resentment towards her. I realized I didn't hate her. I love that woman. Those are things I could not see in my addiction. So
And they're heavy things to reflect on when you're in recovery. When you go from active addiction to recovery, and I don't know, I've had many conversations, Denny, just like this. And first of all, I'm so grateful for you sharing, um, all of the truth in your addiction and your recovery. But it seems like, and I know it's true in my life, sometimes I get in this cycle of thinking like, but I was absent for years in my child's life. And, and then I'm connecting the dots again on the fact, well, yeah, I mean, it makes sense because there was an absence of a parent in my life. And it can become a vicious cycle of reflection, right? When the truth
Mhm.
is, like, some people aren't going to see or even care about the fact that this has been generationally, like, passed down from generation to generation in my family tree. They just want to hold, well, you did this, you did, and I'm not running from anything that I did, but I do have an understanding today that spiritually generational curses are real, and it happened to hit me right on the head.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not, don't think that's deflecting the fact that I'm not trying to own the shit that I did. I'm more
Yeah.
than willing to own it. I talk about it on these podcasts, and I wrote a book about it.
Yeah.
But having the understanding that you're talking about of, these things do get passed down generation to generation, and I'm
Right.
doing the best I can as Denny Matthews to break the cycle. And I want to commend you for that. How's your relationship with your daughter today?
So she and we once I went into treatment, I called her from treatment actually, and I was like, "Would you come up here and see me?" And she's seen that so much and heard it so much, it was just like, "No, I'm good." And my dad, he always stood right there beside me, but at the same time, he was showing me tough love. And so once I got out, I went into a sober living, and I started an IOP, and I started, I got a sponsor and started working some steps, and I started making amends, and she started seeing like 4 months sober, 5, 7, 9, 10, and she all of a sudden, the question mark that I had about God, you know, I did these steps and I had my spiritual awakening, and it was amazing. There was definitely not a question mark anymore because all the things that started getting restored into my life, it was something greater than me. And, she and I started going, we have a little thing, we go eat once a week. She just recently moved to Miami. So, but our relationship, we started repairing it, sitting down and just talking. We had a thing where we would talk 3 minutes a day, 3 times a week, and it could just be about bullshit, just anything. As long as we put that time in, and we were slowly repairing our relationship. I heard a guy the other day at a meeting say that he had met so many friends through the fellowship, and that's great. But to me, like the greatest thing that's happened is I'm having friends from my past that I grew up with. They all got married and went the right direction. I stayed to the left. I would call them and ask them like, "Hey man, can I come over and see?" No, my wife don't want you here. No, we have kids here. No, you showed your ass last time. And I have them reaching out now, wanting to, come get together this weekend and barbecue. Come over. I want you to meet my daughter. You've never met her. And just just getting those things repaired and fixed, it's like, man, that is amazing. Like it means so much to me to get the old real people back into my life. Me and my dad, we have good conversations. We talk a lot. So that God went from a question mark to he's really there, man, because he's working in me. And I talked to my buddy this morning, wanted me to come over to his house and play drums with him. I couldn't because I had to go get a haircut and stuff. But anyway, um, it was just awesome to talk to him and say, "All right, man, well, let's get together." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, it means more than anything in the world to me because I was banned and I was barred and I was kicked out and I was told not to come around. And for those doors to open back up, it's God working in me."
That's awesome, Denny. Last question, man. So let's say there's somebody who's going through something similar to what you went through, man. They have a really good job, a job where they can afford to splurge on their habit, and they eventually get to the point where they're so sick and so far removed from their dealer that they're laying on the floor at their work to the point an ambulance comes and has to take them off, and they have to admit finally for the first time, like, I'm addicted to heroin, and they lose this surplus of money and end up in treatment. Their children don't want to speak to them, don't believe them. They have a rocky relationship with their folks. What type of encouragement would you give that person?
I would tell them, I wish someone came up to me years ago, and told me, you know, if you just surrender and you work these few steps, you can kick this shit and you can live happy, joyous, and free. No one ever told me that. I thought I was just a lifer, and I was okay with that. And so, what I would tell them is if you go get treatment and you get help, and you trust in your higher power, and you get you I believe, get you a sponsor, and you know, you don't want to take a journey with someone who's never got off the front porch. I want someone who's been through there and experienced the same thing. And if you just simply work a few steps, it's not hard. Sanity will be restored, and you can come and go as you please. And so easy to do. You just have to surrender, and God will start restoring all these things back into your life. He really does. I never would have believed it. Um, I didn't believe in none of the treatment or steps. I didn't believe in none of that. I thought it was all cult like, and it was just weird to me. But it's became my way of life, and I can't even. I mean, if I'm not in meetings or around my fellowship, I feel weird. Like that's my safe place now. So it's not impossible. A lot of guys where I work at, I work in a treatment center, and one of their things is, they've lost their kids. I want my kids back, and they feel like they've lost them, and they haven't. Once they see you putting in the work, and they see that spiritual change inside of you, they're naturally gonna want to be a part of it.
Amen. Yeah, I love that. Great answer, Denny. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, man, for coming on here and sharing such an unbelievable testimony. You've been through a lot, brother, and I'm sure this is going to help more people than you're ever going to realize.
I hope so, man. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, man. And want to remind everybody else, go check out the website, BrandonCouch.com, grab a copy of the book, and remember that you always have a seat right here on the recovery couch. Stay with me, Denny.
Yes, sir.
This episode of the Recovery Couch is brought to you by JB Davis at South Dayton Toyota. For integrity, service, and unbeatable deals, call JB and his team at 513-267-5225 and tell them the Recovery Couch sent you.